There are a lot of factors that affect how you receive a creative product. And I want to talk about the most interesting, big factors that I consider whenever watching a film. So, over the years, I've realized a lot of movies and TV shows just hit entirely differently under different circumstances. And when I talk to people about film, a lot of them don't seem to fully comprehend this idea. Like, they think of film as this static product that would be the same and they would feel the same way about it anytime that they would watch it. But I've seen time and time again that is simply not true, at least for most people, because I have seen it in myself and I have seen it in many, many others. The mood I'm in, the people I'm with, the setting, like a bright sunny day versus a rainy night, and many other little factors. I have seen all of it affect how I receive a film, how other people receive it, and just everyone's opinions about it, even collectively in groups. And this is something that most people don't talk about when evaluating creative media. You are half the equation. The film's world plus yours. If there are incongruencies, you're gonna have a harder time getting into it. It's why people watch horror films at night and why they don't watch adult films around their parents. Hopefully. Like, everything going on around you matters. It affects the creative media that you are engaging with. So if you don't know me, my name is Aya, and I'm an occasional filmmaker with a film studies degree. And to give you guys an idea, I always describe film studies as the nerdy analytical side of the film industry, and it sways very heavily into psychology and philosophy. And when I was doing my degree, it was common practice to watch everything twice. So anytime we were writing about something, a movie, a TV episode, even a whole show, watch it all the way through, paying attention at least twice. Because you miss things, you get distracted, you don't pick up on everything. You hone in on certain details, and then wherever your attention goes, that eliminates a whole bunch of other things that you could be focusing on. So you always watch things twice all the way through to make sure that you're picking up on anything that could be important. And even then, there's no guarantee that something didn't go over your head that would be completely obvious to someone else. Most of the time, when people watch films separately, or sometimes even in a group, if you're not talking about things all the way through, just think of it as if you and every other person are watching entirely separate movies because you are picking up and noticing very different things. And my extra background in psychology made me follow that thread a little bit more, looking at how atmosphere and company and mood can affect what you think about a film every time you watch it. So atmosphere is things like the time of day or night, the weather, the temperature, the lighting in your home, or even how the furniture is situated. Is it similar to what you're watching on screen? All those little details, all of those things can affect how you are connecting with the film and the emotions and the thoughts that come up. The settings in which you watch films is like the entire foundation for setting up the film itself. You can have an entirely different reaction to a film based on the psychological impact of your surroundings. And one of my favorite things is matching my physical environment, especially weather, to a film's atmosphere. It's one of those things that just gets me on the same page as a film and kind of brings it to life for me just a little bit more. And like a lot of things in psychology, if you really pay attention to this link and really play it up, you notice how influential it really is. Like, you can create so many complex emotions and reactions just by emphasizing qualities of the environment. And company, so who you are watching it with, or even just who's around in the house, overhearing it from another room. Every person around you is going to influence you in some way. If you've got a group of people who are determined to tear a movie apart and make fun of it and see the worst of it and find every little detail that's awful and just have this much more demeaning experience of a film, you are going to be completely at odds with the group if you are actually evaluating it on things that it's good at in a way in which it actually succeeds. You are going to be completely at odds if you are evaluating it on something that it does well. And vice versa. If you're in a group and everyone around you loves a certain movie, and you think it's horrible, that you're noticing glaring writing mistakes, you think that the quality is bad somehow, you are all going to be on separate pages evaluating a film from entirely different angles. The whole group dynamic and having people on a relatively similar page affects how you experience that film. I've known so many people who just go, this is dumb, this doesn't make any sense, to movies that are perfectly fine, that have no glaring writing mistakes, that are like hold your hand through the plot, and they still don't get them. They still don't understand what is going on. To like every movie that they watch. And like more often than not, the problem is they're either not paying attention or they're just not understanding a very basic plot point where when you explain it to them, they say, oh, well, they should have explained it better. It was right there. They either don't understand what is going on in the film for some reason, or like the emotional beats of the film aren't hitting. They're not connecting. So nothing seems to make sense. And I have learned never to watch movies with people like that. Like, if they cannot make sense of something that is just basically spelled out. Like, I'm not talking about super complicated stories here, like no twists and turns or like the big twist at the end. Like basic plot points halfway through the movie, they're just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why would they do that? It's like, they just explained it in the previous scene. There is setup and payoff here. How are you not picking up what they're putting down? So, I do not watch movies with people like that because they just ruin the entire experience for everyone. And things like politics and social issues, like that can just cause divisions every which way. And what I've learned from years of witnessing that as well is that a lot of people on every side in every group are just ignorant, and they will not understand their ignorance unless you very gently point it out. Every group has stupid people. I don't care what demographic you're a part of or where your allegiance lies, there is someone within your group who is going to fly off the handle and misinterpret something, or just not be able to get out of their political, social group lens, and they will, again, ruin the experience for everyone. And then just knowledge in general can change things. People who have experience with science, trades, medicine, like all of these different fields where people can have inside information, where you realize the writers of the story really should have consulted with more professionals. And I hate it when that happens. It just destroys suspension of disbelief when you are watching something and all of a sudden there is a glaring mistake where that would not happen. That would not be possible. Nobody would do that if they knew what they were talking about. It is so easy to break suspension of disbelief when you are watching something that you know just is not possible. You get taken out of the story. And that suspension of disbelief can be broken for everyone in the group if you've got one person who knows what would really be possible. But the opposite can also be true. If you've got someone in the group who knows what they're talking about and they can explain the broad limits of possibility where people are like, oh, that would never happen, that's so unrealistic. Well, actually, all of these things are technically possible, and hey, everyone gets lucky sometimes. If something could potentially happen, then of course there's an interesting story about that. You want to capitalize on those little chances, those little like miracles of fate. A lot of time that's what makes good stories. The broad limits of possibility can actually lend credence to a lot of stories when you have someone in the group who knows this is actually kind of possible. And just the dynamic of the group. Do you want to laugh? Do you want something meaningful? Do you want something serious and thought-provoking? Do you want something that everyone's going to have a different viewpoint on? Like, knowing the strengths and social dynamics of a group, that means catering your viewing choices to how you function socially as friends. You don't all have to like the same movies or like the same parts of movies, but you should want the same thing out of the experience. Having a cohesive motivation, or that idea of being on the same page as a group. What do we want to experience? That is how you choose movies for multiple people. And mood, your internal thoughts and feelings, which are affected by atmosphere and the company you keep, but also what personally happened to you that day or that week or that year. Your mood determines how you react to things. It determines where your head and heart go in a situation. What are you paying attention to? What are you noticing? You're going to have different thoughts and emotions while watching a romantic comedy based on whether you're having a great date night with your partner or whether you just broke up. And if you're going through a stressful time in your life, you might not want a goofy slapstick movie where nothing really matters and no deeper issues are ever addressed. Or because of the unpredictable nature of human emotions, maybe you want the opposite. So on a case-by-case basis, like, individuals might want something similar and relatable, or they might want something different to escape. But however people are processing and dealing with their emotions, like, whatever's happening to you in real life is setting you up for how you're interpreting what you watch creatively. It is extremely hard to be neutral, and it happens more often by chance than by intent. So when it comes to overall mood, your thoughts and emotions, like, they are going to decide how open you are to an emotional experience. Things like humor, fear, anticipation, setup and payoff, and any emotional beats of the story. Your logical opinions might remain unchanged. Like, you might be able to look at more quantifiable or measurable parameters of a film, seeing if it's well made, seeing all these different aspects of, yes, this was done well, this was not done well. But your opinions about anything remotely emotional, those are really determined by your mood, your own internal thoughts and emotions. Like I said, you are half the equation. Whatever is going on with you is going to determine how you are receiving a creative work, because it's going to decide what you are focusing on, what you really see. Your opinions on anything emotional about a film will be affected somehow. And what really grabs people about most films, about most storytelling, is the emotional aspect, the meaning that you get out of it. So taking these three main things into consideration, you can drastically change your experience of a film by manipulating the circumstances around it. Pay attention to atmosphere and play it up to reach that peak of effectiveness. Watch the right movies with the right people. Everyone is going to have this different mix and match system where you're just going to find it more enjoyable when you get that right combination. And just keep in mind, your mood will affect everything, any creative medium that you are engaging with. You will react differently to different things based on how you've been primed to react to them. And this is something important to keep in mind for anyone who talks about media, especially creative media, especially film, because if you have a horrible experience of a film, if you have an amazing experience of a film, like, just keep in mind how subjective that really is. It's not just personal taste. It's also the entire atmosphere, your company, and your mood that go into creating that horrible or amazing experience. Like, people who talk about their opinions as fact when talking about a creative work, I find it very difficult to really take them seriously, and often I find that they are just not very self-aware. Because if you don't understand how you're being affected by things, if you don't understand how you're being manipulated, even by yourself, you're a lot easier to manipulate. The overall experience of viewing a film is a lot more emotional and subjective than a lot of people realize. And this also goes a long way to using creative media in a self-help way, because if you are understanding your half of the equation, if you're understanding how you're going to react to something, how you're interpreting something, and why, that can help you broaden your perspective. It can help you see connections that you would have otherwise missed. And it increases self-awareness in a way that helps you use storytelling in a way that's beneficial for your life. So if you want to get the most out of your viewing experience, these 3 things are a good place to start. Let's try playing around with them, change them up, see how impactful they actually are for you. Because every person will be able to use these things to a different degree. And if you really want to have a deeper understanding of any piece of creative media, go through it at least twice. I'm passing along the wisdom because I am sick of shallow reviewers who miss important moments and then complain because they missed them. And you could practice by helping me out in the algorithm and watching all of my videos twice. That's about it. Bye.